So you wrote this article about life coaching.
Yes.
And it went pretty viral, like hundreds of thousands of people, tons of comments, all these things, and a lot of hatred. Tell us about that. Like, what was it about a life coach?
Well, most people laugh at the life coach thing. So I made this joke where I took all these pictures. I got our friend JR to take a bunch of pictures of me like by a waterfall. And I was like, how to become a life coach. And then I documented that you have to show yourself doing baller things that other people can't afford, fake your bank account, basically make yourself look really awesome and then get vulnerable people to come to you. And so this got a lot of criticism, but the actual point of the post was how to make life coaches make more money, because I think life coaching is going to be a thing. Have you ever hired a life coach?
Yeah.
So, I have too. So I've hired a life coach, you've hired a life coach. What was your experience, good or bad?
Overall, pretty good.
For a couple months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then eventually you kind of get tired of it, or you reach your peak and then it's over.
So here's my theory. Here's why I think life coaching is going to become bigger if you do this correctly. So woo-woo people, watch out for this one because you might not like this. There's a lot of life coaches that teach like, follow your abundance in your heart and your pleasure or whatever. And you're just like, what the hell are you talking about? Life coaches that make a bunch of money, such as James Clear, look him up. He teaches all these life coaching mindsets and whatever, but he makes a ton of money. Why? Because he applies it to like the real world. His teachings are rooted in the real world. Some people's are in the woo-woo world.
We have a friend who will go nameless, but he had a mansion. You remember the guy with the mansion? I'm not gonna name his name. Yeah. So he used to have sex parties. That's what you do when you're a life coach. No, he did. He had like sex parties and like a lot of like masterminds. If you hear that word, that's a life coach. What I've heard recently, and he was a nice guy to me, he was always really good, but I've heard recently he's on the run. Like literally he couldn't pay his rent for the place. Ooh. Have you seen him lately?
I don't know.
Exactly. I
think life coaching is going to become bigger because there are some periods in people's lives, like if they go through maybe a divorce or something like that.
Breakup, job.
Exactly, just a low period in general, where they need some sort of guidance by someone who's good at that, who's good at listening, good at kind of seeing where people should go. I don't think everyone needs a medically trained PhD to do that.
So what happened for you that made you find a life coach, and then how'd you find your life coach?
I think I actually had, it wasn't a life coach, he was a, what was it called? A productivity coach is what he was. But what I found myself like asking him was more about relationship questions and more life-related stuff rather than just productivity. And I was like, oh, I mean, he's a life coach is what he is. Yeah, and I used him for about 6 months and we kind of got in the groove, and at 6 months I was kind of like, I think I got this. I think I got out of whatever rut I was in, and it was useful.
So what did you actually do with your life coach?
He would call me twice a week or so.
Hey Neville, it's Steve, what's up?
Hey Steve, what's going on? And then he would ask me about like if I completed the things we did.
Tell me about if you completed the things you did.
Well, I didn't do something, and I know I said I was gonna do it.
Hey Neville, you said you were gonna do that. Why didn't you do it?
You know what? What if I call you back in 30 minutes? I bet I could do it right now.
Hey, I'm really proud of you, son.
Thank you. Here's money. And that's how it went. It's just like, because someone like I knew was gonna be like, I'm disappointed in you, Neville. I was like, I was there. Kind of like my body tutor with Adam Gilbert.
I was just thinking of him.
Yeah, you know someone the next day is gonna read what you ate and they're gonna be like, hey, did that extra bacon make you feel any better? And you're like, no, yeah, exactly.
But I think actually that's an interesting point with life coaches, is that on some instance, they can help you just reflect things going on in your life. Like I've gone to therapy, which sometimes I used to call them a life coach just because it really was more of they're coaching me about my life. But another way of framing it is like just accountability. So for Adam, a lot of it is just like, hey, did you do this thing you say you're gonna do? So get an accountability coach. Like, you could have it for business, you could have it for health, you could have it for like whatever it is, relationships, so forth.
I think some people get stuck in the woo world is where I see the things that I don't like, where they start the affirmations and stuff, which I guess that's okay for some people, but it has to be rooted in some real world thing.
Like something tactical or?
Yeah, exactly. Like I think Laura Roeder would have made a great life coach. She would have been like the envious girl of everyone. She could have been all like, hey, keeping it real with Laura Roeder, and I think she could have done a really good job with that. But instead, she like built out a huge social media company before like social media was even a big thing.
Yeah.
And now she runs like a huge thing, Meet Edgar. And I think she kept it in the real world and therefore makes a bunch of money, whereas a lot of life coaches are struggling.
Well, that is kind of interesting though. It's like, I've noticed a lot of the life coaches that we know and other ones I've seen don't really have great lives.
They try to make it seem like that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing in general, where we look at other people's lives and I'm like, man, that guy's having a great time. I want to be over there. But in reality, it may not always be the case.
I think Marie Forleo, I don't know too much about her, but what I do see is she does try to teach like business stuff, but with that kind of like woo-woo side to it, which is okay. Like if you're into that, that's great. But she is rooted in the real world, I think. So that's a good example.
Maybe that's what it all comes back to, is that like sometimes, and also, I think different people need to be treated differently in how they get things. Like some people, like I noticed for me, I was at a boxing class last week, and I really need them yelling at me. I really want them to be like, you could do better, and then I want them to congratulate me. And I think the point though is that it was interesting to notice like what motivates different people, and so you probably have to find the person that, or tell people like, hey, yo, this is how I'm actually like to be motivated and be successful.
Well, you know what I did without a life coach before that was even a word back in the day, and I think you did at the same time. I created a blog. I created a blog that I knew was public and like 2 people were reading it, and therefore I'd be embarrassed if I said something and then didn't do it. And that was the way I held myself accountable. I think there's a lot of other ways. I think you could even post it on Facebook and be like, hey guys, I'm a lazy asshole and I want to do this in 1 month, like learn Spanish, whatever. And put it out there, and then someone's gonna see that, and now you're like, someone's gonna see that, I should do that.
You should get coaches for different aspects of life, like a writing coach or a business coach, or like I have a health coach. One of the other things that I think you just highlighted was just like, if you post something publicly, have some form of punishment. And it's not like people are like, oh, I'm gonna mail money to this group I hate. I mean, something you really don't wanna do. So my friend Eric, he's trying to read a certain amount of hours in a month for books he wants to read. And he was like, dude, all right, give me the punishment. He really wants one. I was like, all right, I want a $5,000 mountain bike. And so like he knows if he doesn't do it, I'm gonna collect on that bike.
So I did a whole series of these, like in 2012 or something like that. And one of them was if I didn't finish my to-do list for that month, that I had to give this specific homeless guy that I really did not like. I always saw him and I just didn't like him for some reason. I was like, I have to give him my bike. Ironically, the bike again. And I had a nice $500 bike, which I thought was really good. And I was like, I'm not giving this guy my bike. I swear, I had a bunch of friends over for Halloween. And they're like, hey, we're going out. It was like 9 p.m. and I wasn't done with it. And if it was midnight, I would have to give that guy my bike. And I stayed in and didn't go out till midnight when I finished that damn thing.
But then you went out.
Then I went out.
Yeah, did you ride by him on your bike? All right, so the moral of the story with life coaches is that you're not hating on them. They are helpful in different things. Maybe look for coaches in other aspects.
Yeah. I think you could hire tutors, teachers, all that stuff. I think like codementor.io, I've used that a lot. Anytime I've wanted to do something like HTML-wise that I kind of just for some reason want to do myself, but I don't know how to do, I'll go on Code Mentor, and you can hire these coaches, like coding coaches, for 15 minutes at a time.
They just watch you and give you the feedback?
Yeah, they're like $8 to $45 per hour or 15 minutes, depending on where. I get the ones in India because they're like $8 an hour.
Yeah. Is that your cousin?
They're like better.
Like, Neville, I haven't seen you.
Super helpful. They talk with a little bit of an accent. No big deal. So yeah, productivity.